An unlikely pairing in Jefferson City as Planned Parenthood and Missouri Right to Life come together in opposition to legislation.
Pittsburgh Community Middle School could be getting some major upgrades, but that's only if Pittsburgh voters sign off on them. Details are coming up.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Groups on opposite sides of the abortion debate come together to oppose Missouri legislation. This is KOAM News at 10. Both Planned Parenthood and Missouri Right to Life oppose legislation to limit funding for family planning services and say it won't have its intended effect. Both groups today spoke against the bills during a Senate committee hearing. At issue is a tax on hospitals, nursing homes, ambulances, and pharmacies used to draw down billions of dollars in federal Medicaid funding. Anti-abortion lawmakers are trying to use the tax to block state funding for Planned Parenthood. But Planned Parenthood says it already doesn't get money from the state program cited in the legislation. Missouri Right to Life's president says the proposal would be useless. A federal ban on evictions is extended by the CDC. In the 40th Circuit Court, Associate Judge Christine Rhodes says the number of tenants taking advantage of the moratorium has been pretty low, and the number of filings for eviction cases has increased slightly. Once the moratorium does end in August, she's not sure what to expect.
We may have a line out the door, landlords ready to evict folks. I don't have a good idea of how many that will be. The hope is some of the tenants have been able to get back to work and pay up their rent and they're able to stay. That would be my hope. I'm fairly certain that's not the case, though, in the vast majority, but we'll just have to wait and see for that.
Judge Rhodes also tells us she's talked to only one tenant who has taken advantage of rental assistance currently being offered by the state of Missouri. If you want to learn about that assistance, you can find more information on our website. President Biden hit the road today heading to North Carolina to make a push for COVID vaccines ahead of the July 4th holiday. Reporter Serena Marshall has more.
From gift cards to lotteries and free beer, the Biden administration has been pulling out all the stops to encourage more Americans to get vaccinated against COVID-19. Now, a fresh tactic, sending in the president himself. President Joe Biden today met with frontline workers at a mobile vaccine center in Raleigh, North Carolina, a state where so far just over 55% of adults are fully vaccinated.
We need more people to get fully vaccinated to finish the job. That's why I'm here.
The nation's mass immunization effort has stalled, particularly in the South. The president says getting more shots into more people's arms is a matter of life and death.
The best way to protect yourself against the virus and its variants is to be fully vaccinated. It works. It's free, it's safe, it's easy, it's convenient.
The White House is also urging younger adults to get vaccinated, noting that for those between the ages of 18 and 30, less than half have done so.
They are going to continue to be at risk of disease, of severe disease, of getting long COVID and all of those problems that come with it.
Nationwide, 65% of adults have received at least one dose, but concern over low vaccination rates is growing, with the more contagious Delta variant now accounting for more than 20% of total infections. Serena Marshall, CBS News, the White House.
Vice President Kamala Harris, Second Gentleman Doug Emhoff, and First Lady Jill Biden also took part in events today encouraging more Americans to get vaccinated. Nick Kelly, another muggy night out there.
Yeah, it's just a fitting tale to end the Thursday around here, Dal. We had a hot and humid day for sure with highs near 94 after we started at 74 this morning. But because of a good south wind in play, we're not going to do a lot of cooling off throughout the course of the night. I will point out that just to our north, we got a big cluster of severe thunderstorms skirting the Kansas City area and northern parts of Missouri. I don't think this will be an issue for us overnight. Now, the storms out in western Kansas and eastern Colorado, though, some of that could try to graze us as we go into tomorrow morning. Before any of that action gets here, though, we're just warm and muggy. Most of us in the mid-80s still, feeling like it's 90 degrees with those dew points still high. And the lowest I see us going is upper 70s in the morning, with maybe some of the storms out west grazing our northern counties. I think we get a break once we get the afternoon started with temperatures near 89. We'll top it at 94 tomorrow, Dow, before we see strong to severe storms possible going into the rest of the day. That's why we have tomorrow as an alert day. We'll break down what these storms tomorrow will do here in a bit.
All right, catch you then. Pittsburgh Community Middle School turns 100 years old this year. And the school board has decided it's time for some major renovations. But that's only if Pittsburgh voters agree with them. KOAM's Mike Mahoney spoke to the USD 250 superintendent to learn more.
Hayden King is a Pittsburgh Community Middle School alumnus who thinks current students would drastically benefit if the school was renovated and upgraded.
Not only would they be able to go to this half, but they'd actually be able to use the rest of the school. Like, I feel like it's not really valuable to the students at all if they just get to look at the rest of the building.
Hayden is referring to the fact that a lot of the school's west side isn't utilized by students. But if the USD 250 school board gets its wish, that could change.
It was built in 1921, so it's 100 years old. And the architects and engineers that have been in there are telling us that the structure is very, very solid, and it is primed for renovation so that we can keep historic value and also turn it into a 21st century learning space.
The school board has voted to hire Joplin architecture firm Corner Greer & Associates, who will eventually come up with conceptual designs for new parts of the school that can help staff teach students new things.
We are a growing school district and a growing community, and we do need a little bit of space, but really more of the plan right now is to meet the ongoing needs of career exploration and preparation.
But some big changes inside the school doesn't mean its iconic castle-like appearance is going anywhere.
What you see on the outside is really what we want you to see on the outside when the project is done.
But in order for the project to even start, it has to be approved by Pittsburgh voters, since the school board is hopeful they'll fund the renovations with a bond referendum.
We're trying to look at this so that we can go in at a $0 mill increase. And so we're taking care of some space needs, we're taking care of educational needs, we're taking care of a building which is iconic, and we can do it at potentially no cost to the taxpayers.
Pittsburgh taxpayers will be able to decide for themselves when they vote on the middle school bond referendum, which is currently being worked on for the upcoming November elections or a special January election. In Pittsburgh, Mike Mahoney, KOAM News.
Pittsburgh voters passed a 2017 bond issue, which gave the school district $31 million for projects at multiple schools. Superintendent Proffitt says the bond issue being worked on by the school board would be specifically aimed at Pittsburgh Community Middle School. There's a new tenant occupying the former Cox Health building in Monette, Missouri. Life 360 Community Service is taking over the Monette Hospital. Plans are in flux, but Life 360 hopes to use the facility for mental health services, foster care services, crisis pregnancy, nutrition services, youth and child care with an on-site preschool, employment services, education, a community meeting space, and more. The building served as Cox Hospital for 70 years. Memorial Day to Labor Day are the 100 deadliest days on Kansas roads for teenagers. The AAA Foundation of Traffic Safety says new drivers are 3 times more likely than adults to be involved in a deadly crash during that period. There are a few common factors. The teen drivers are not wearing a seatbelt, they're speeding or distracted. Also, just having more teens on the road because school is out increases the chances they'll be involved in a wreck. Nationwide, more than 7,000 people died in crashes involving teen drivers from 2010 to 2019. Coming up, overall life expectancy in the U.S. has decreased, and researchers say COVID-19 is to blame. And rescue efforts are underway following a building collapse in Florida. Researchers say deaths from COVID-19 have reduced overall life expectancy in the U.S. by more than a year. Life expectancy is now at 77.43 years. That's down from 78.74 years just a year ago. And that's just an average. It's worse for Black and Latino people. According to that report in JAMA Open Journal, the virus has shortened life expectancy for the Latino population by slightly more than 3 years and 1.9 years for Black Americans. Mandy Gaither has more.
As COVID-19 deaths hit record lows, those dying are more disproportionately Black than before. Black people account for about 12.5% of the population, but more than 15% of total COVID-19 deaths. In May, that number jumped to 19%, according to CDC data. The average age of people dying of COVID-19 has also shifted to younger people recently. In May, 59% of deaths were among those under the age of 75.
This virus is an opportunist.
A top U.S. health official says an overwhelming number of those dying of COVID-19 are unvaccinated. There's been a dip in vaccinations across the country, especially among those aged 18 to 39 years old. A CDC survey of that age group shows around 52% are already vaccinated or plan to. 23% said they'd probably get vaccinated or were unsure, and nearly 25% reported they probably or definitely would not get vaccinated.
Nearly every death due to COVID-19 is particularly tragic because nearly every death, especially among adults due to COVID-19, is at this point entirely preventable.
Studies show that vaccines protect people well, even against the newly circulating variants of the virus. But the CDC director says as long as there are those who are not vaccinated, COVID-19 will remain a threat. For Health Minute, I'm Mandy Gaither.
The Delta variant, first identified in India, now accounts for about 20% of all U.S. COVID-19 cases. That variant is believed to be more easily spread. New data suggests plastic face shields are not getting the job done when it comes to protecting against COVID-19. Research presented at the European Congress of Clinical Microbiology and Infectious Diseases tested 32 types of masks, respirators, and shields to see how they contain tiny aerosol particles. They found certified surgical masks offered the best filtration, while face shields provided little to no protection at all. Nearly 24 hours after a deadly condominium collapse near Miami, Florida, the search continues for nearly 100 people still unaccounted for. One person is known dead, and tonight there are fears that number may climb as rescuers sort through the rubble. Family members are anxiously awaiting word on their missing loved ones and desperately pleading for information.
Found out that my nephew was here with the wife and 3 small children, 2, 6, and 9. They had an apartment there. You never lose hope.
Authorities say they're not sure what caused the collapse, but say there was construction underway on the roof of one tower. As many as 751 unmarked graves have been discovered at a former residential school in Saskatchewan, Canada. The bodies were discovered at the Mariaval Indian Residential School, which operated from 1899 to 1997. Investigators cannot confirm if all the unmarked graves contain children. The announcement comes weeks after more than 200 unmarked burial sites were discovered at a residential school in British Columbia. Later, the Matt Newberry Memorial Baseball Tournament, named in honor of an SEK Sports mainstay and KOAM family member, gets underway in Pittsburgh.
Plus, I'm tracking one more hot and humid day before we track several days of rain chances in the forecast. We'll break it down next. It was hot and humid once again today with highs well into the 90s. We'll do it again tomorrow while we keep an eye on our next best shot for strong and possibly severe storms, especially late tomorrow afternoon into tomorrow night. Before we break down where we go from here, back on where we've been throughout the day, hasn't looked as bad at all, really. Passing cloud cover, sure, but we kept things dry from Indigo Sky Casino and Resort outside of Seneca, Missouri. Other areas in our northern counties, especially this morning, was grazed by that complex of storms that came out of Nebraska. All it did for us, just scattered storms this morning, and then the afternoon, maybe a couple stragglers around the Kansas-Oklahoma border. Overall, we kept things quiet for this evening. I don't have anything on the radar network in our immediate area to start the late night out, but this is going to get quite a workout with days of rain chances lining up as soon as we get the weekend started. It looks nice, it looks quiet, at least from 7th and Range Line, but this is not exactly a Chamber of Commerce kind of night. It is warm, it is muggy, it is breezy, Yeah, not ideal for any outdoor plans, really. 84 in Joplin, and south wind gusting to 28. It's keeping that dew point up too at 72. That's why it feels like 90 degrees outside at 10 o'clock on this Thursday night. Everybody's in the lower to middle 80s, and when you factor in the dew points, it still feels like we're in the lower 90s across much of the area. And this is our big problem. We're not going to get much of a cool down overnight because the south wind that we had all day at 10 to 20, gusts near 30, that's going to hold steady. So I think the coolest we go, if you want to call it that, upper 70s for a warm and muggy night ahead of us. Fortunately, we'll keep things quiet for the start of the overnight since I don't think any of these thunderstorms will be heading toward us. They're going to mainly stay out in north central parts of Missouri along the I-70 corridor. But I am watching this complex of storms out in western Kansas. Doesn't look really impressive now, but in some form or fashion, that could try to graze us with some scattered storms in the morning. I don't think they'll be severe if they can survive the journey along our warm front and stationary front parked on top of us. But this front to the north, that is going to be quite the rainmaker with days of rain chances, as that will park right on top of us going into next week, along with the upper level setup. This upper ridge will try to keep us hot and humid for one more day before it breaks down. And all these upper lows will do their part to make sure we have days of rain chances lined up for us. In the short term, again, the storms near Kansas City, northern Missouri, trying to make a run to St. Louis before we hit sunrise. I think we're quiet for much of the overnight before any storms out west can try to graze us. Again, nothing severe if they can, but upper 70s for a warm start for your Friday morning. I think we get a break in our thunderstorm chances around lunchtime before we see anything try to build as we go into late Friday afternoon. But hot and humid again, 78 in the morning, 89 by noon, highs near 94. All these storms by 3 or 4 o'clock, they will be ahead of our next approaching front from the north, and you can see how they want to really intensify and try to head toward the south and east as we go throughout Friday evening. So we need to keep an eye on those storms because they will have a low severe threat, with wind, hail, and rain being the biggest threats. I'm thinking the best timing for any severe weather tomorrow through in the afternoon until about 11 o'clock. Then it's just plenty of rain chances as we roll into 7-day forecast. At least we're going to back up on the severe threat on Saturday, but I'm thinking periods of widespread rain Saturday, Sunday, all the way through Tuesday of next week. Fortunately, it will help us out with temperatures down. 94 tomorrow with that alert day, then lower to middle 80s throughout the rest of the stretch.
And I know that forecast doesn't necessarily mean we will get rain on every one of those days, but considerable chances every day for about a week, it looks like.
That's how it's looking.
Thanks, Nick. The Rotary Club of Joplin hosted its annual charity golf scramble in May. Today was the payoff. The Rotary Club donated more than $25,000 to area charities from the money raised during that golf scramble. The money goes to Pro Musica, the Community Clinic, Children's Haven, and the Alliance of Southwest Missouri. Coming up in sports, Pittsburgh American Legion Baseball hosts the inaugural Matt Newberry Memorial Tournament. Also, the Royals aim to take the series from the New York Yankees. Jacob Leonard has the highlights up next.
Not having Matt Newberry has been an incredible blow to the American Legion baseball program here. Not to just us, but everybody around him that knew him.
Pittsburgh American Legion Baseball is hosting its inaugural Matt Newberry Memorial Tournament beginning tonight. Newberry passed away in November. Now, of course, he was a part of our family here at KOAM. Was a big part of the Post 64 baseball program, from social media to PA to game day programs and more. Now, the team says they wanted to start the tournament this year to make sure they take time every year to recognize his contributions to the program.
Matt brought so much to the table that it's one of those truly you don't know what you got until it's gone, and this was a perfect example of that. You never want to take anything for granted. This is the way we can celebrate on our program the life of Matt Newberry every year, so people remember him and continue to come out and support the program as best they can, show their support, and help us grow each year.
Now to baseball. Pittsburgh playing its first game tonight, facing the Complete Game Sander team out of Kansas City. In the first inning, that's Shea Munkin. Back up the middle for the base hit. He'll get stranded though. Cameron Lawson, strikeout for the third out. Then Isaac Elkins gets his first strikeout of the game in the bottom half. Keeps Sander off the board. Low scoring game, late start, just went final. Post 64 falls 2-1. The Kansas City Royals wrap up their 3-game series with the New York Yankees tonight. The two teams have split the first two, with the Yankees winning 6-5 on a walk-off last night. Now, Kansas City tries to bounce back and take the series this afternoon, but Yankees brought the big bats today. In the first, Aaron Judge solo homer off Brad Keller. That's his 16th. Royals in an early hole. Second inning, more from Judge. Just a single this time. Aaron Judge, though, 3 for 3, 2 RBIs today. Yankees up 3, but they're not done. Next inning, Luke Voigt's turn to go deep. It's a solo shot. His third pushes the lead to 4. Then, just for good measure, Gary Sanchez with 2 on. 3-run jack. Yankees take the game and the series, winning tonight 8-1. The St. Louis Cardinals open up a series against the Pirates tonight. And the Cards been pretty bad at the plate lately, scoring 4 total runs in their last 3 games. Now tonight, they've only managed 2. They're down 8-2 right now in the top of the 9th inning. That's a look at sports. We're back with more news after the break.
Take time now to honor a local veteran, Engineman Second Class William Atchison. The Atchison, Kansas native served in the U.S. Navy, and we are proud to salute Engineman Second Class William Atchison. He's tonight's 4-state hero. Hey, the oldest living male gorilla in the world just added another candle to his birthday cake. Zoo Atlanta celebrated Ozzy's 60th birthday. That's an accomplishment since gorillas are seen as geriatric after they turn about 40. Ozzy has more than 20 descendants, including great-grandchildren, some of whom also live at Zoo Atlanta. Looking pretty good for 60, I guess. This gorillas go.
Absolutely.
The weather.
Yeah, warm and muggy tonight, hot and humid tomorrow with highs near 94. We'll have to watch for strong to severe storms in the afternoon and evening. I'll break down the additional rain chances on the blog at KOAMnewsnow.com.
Quick sports note.
That Cards game is final. They fall to the Pirates 8-2.
Yeah. Thanks for joining us. Don't forget our morning show, and let's make it a great tomorrow.